Welcome to Talking Jets. My name's Ryan and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilot. I've got Richie from Jets Media. Green Bean will be joining us in just a little bit. He's traveling a little bit, so he will be on around 9 o'clock or so. Richie, how you doing?
I am doing phenomenal right now, but I will say I'm itching for some Jets news, man. I was live for 3 hours on my stream right when the new year kicked off of, 4 o'clock p.m. rolled around, and I was low-key expecting something to come, and nothing happened. So just be patient, trust in Joe Douglas. I'm excited to talk Jets tonight because hopefully we get some breaking news while we're live here on Jets Talk 24/7. Appreciate you having me on, Ryan.
I love it. Guys, we are going to be giving away a shirt at the end of today's stream. There is a link to Richie's channel down below in the description. All you have to do is go down to that link, follow or subscribe to Richie, hit the like button on his most recent video, and leave a comment saying Talking Jets sent you there. And then someone at the end of the stream is going to win a shirt at the end of the show. And before we get into anything too crazy, let's pay a few bills. Of course, dude, of course. You're doing me a favor by coming on here, so
I didn't know.
It's very
I
much.
didn't know about that.
See, I'm pulling things out of thin air. You didn't even know this was coming.
Yeah,
Before we jump into the Jets news, we're going into a little bit of, paying some bills. NFL draft season is upon us. It's possible that you might have Trevor Lawrence's haircut in your pants. That's why our partners at Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have partnered with us to make sure you don't gamble on shaving your balls the same way you gamble on football. For all my draft geeks, we have an exclusive 20% off promo code JetsTalk. Use promo code JetsTalk at manscaped.com, get 20% off and free shipping. All right, Richie, we got a little bit of news, and I want to hear all of your thoughts on the Jets signing. So let's move into our first signing. The first one we got, we were actually on your channel. We were streaming, and the news broke right as we were going live. What are your thoughts on Jarrad Davis, the linebacker from Detroit?
This man is a former first-round pick who did not pan out in Detroit. I feel like he was a little bit misused, and the system over there in Detroit didn't really work out. And when that news broke on my channel, we were all like, oh, so this is the first news that happened. I remember last year, the same type of thing happened. Free agency kicked off. We're all waiting for the Jets to do something. We're refreshing Twitter. We're like, hey, yo, when are you going to make a move? And the first move is George Fant. And Jets Twitter was like, George Fant? That's our first move? Come on, let's get some real guys in the building. But a year later, I'm actually okay with George Fant. I think he's a solid right tackle. But back to Jarrad Davis, I think this is just a guy that is going to be someone that Joe Douglas looks at and feels, okay, this guy's untapped potential. He's a young guy. He's a former first-round pick. And he feels that the system in place with Robert Saleh and the coaching staff that they're bringing in from the New York Jets is going to be someone that can get talent out of really intriguing prospects. Because I feel like we're going to get into all the players we signed in Corey Davis and Carl Lawson. But the things that all three of them have in common are they're coming off the rookie deals, and they're around 25, 26 years old. And they have a lot of room to grow. It's not like they hit their peak. I feel like the peak of their careers is yet to come. And that's the type of players that Joe Douglas wants to bring in the building, because he wants these players to hit their complete highest potential here in New York. So instead of going out there and overpaying for 28, 30-year-old players and paying for what they already did previously, he's going out there and spending a little less money on guys that hasn't done anything, and he's banking on them being one of those diamond in the rough type of free agent signings. And that's type of Joe Douglas's mindset. He said over and over and over again, he wants to build this thing through the draft. So for everybody worried about Joe Douglas and saying that Joe Douglas is, I'm not sold on him just yet, we cannot evaluate this all season until after the draft, because that's what Joe Douglas came here to do, to build through the draft. And unfortunately, it takes time. So we're impatient, which is okay. But the Jarrad Davis signing, definitely not something that's going to make me feel like, wow, our defense is going to be top 10 next year. But it's one of those signings that Joe Douglas sees potential, and I have confidence in Robert Saleh especially to get the utmost potential out of him.
Yeah, you hit a nice point, too. The whole coaching staff and everything like that, wanting to coach guys up. Because Robert Saleh, what was he prior to being our head coach? He was the defensive coordinator. He was a linebackers coach. So you know what? Bring in a linebacker that he likes. I'm all about it. I think it's a smart move. I think you got to hedge your bets a little bit with everything going on with CJ Mosley. There's rumors that he may be potentially on the move. So you're going to need some starting linebackers. So Richie, I guess we'll kind of transition a little bit while we're still on the linebacker topic. What do you think happens with CJ Mosley? You want to see him back in the green and white?
Yeah, man. CJ Mosley, that trade situation came out of nowhere. This is just another example of how the Jets' old regime tried to build this team, and that's through free agency. And that's the opposite of what Joe Douglas is doing. And you see what happened with the Jets after Mike McCagnon took over. We have a lot of cap space, and he goes out there and he's fighting for his job. He understands, like, wait, this team is not good. I have a lot of cap space, and if I do not turn this thing around in 1 year, my job is on the line, and I'm going to get fired. So what Mike McCagnon did is he handed out these crazy contracts to C.J. Mosley, Tremaine Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. All three of those contracts right now, I think Jets fans can agree they were mistakes. So, and just to connect it to Joe Douglas, I'm very happy that Joe Douglas is not the one making these same mistakes, because those are the type of signings you make when you're 1 or 2 pieces away from competing for a Super Bowl. This team has holes all over the place. And what Joe Douglas is doing is he's maintaining cap flexibility for years to come. So when we do have 1 or 2 holes that needed to be filled to be a playoff team, that's when he's going to spend the big bucks. Right now, we're not in that situation. We have to really understand our reality. We were 2-14 last year. This is not going to be a short-term fix. If you want to go the short-term route and sign a guy that is 28, 30 years old for a 5-year, $100-something million contract and be the guy that wins the offseason, it never has worked for the Jets. I saw this crazy stat on Twitter. It was like the 2 teams that have spent the most money since 2015, the New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 2 teams that have the worst record since that time, the New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So money, obviously, does not win you ball games. So just to connect this back to CJ Mosley, I do think Joe Douglas is going to be answering the phone because he wants to shed as much cap as possible. But at the same time, I don't want to give up on CJ because he is that good. And he's coming from a Baltimore Ravens team who's been one of the best defenses in the NFL. He was like the best inside linebacker, top 3 inside linebacker for sure. And that's why we signed him. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. But the problem is he's played 3 quarters for the Jets. So you're like, are we going to bank on this guy being on the field? Because his biggest problem is his availability. I just don't think that they're going to be able to, move that contract. I don't know what team would be able to, but if Joe Douglas gets that off the books, he deserves a lot of credit. Because I don't know, realistically speaking, I think CJ Mosley's on the Jets this year.
Yeah, I think the contract's really going to be the biggest hurdle there. And you brought up a really interesting point about how much money is spent in free agency. I saw a similar stat. I don't know if it was Field Yates. Someone tweeted it out. But it was the Jacksonville Jaguars since 2011 have spent $1.4 billion in guaranteed money since, in free agency. And that is by far the most. And they have lost 75% of their games since that time. So spending a ton of money like the Patriots have and like the Jets have in the past, it obviously didn't translate to wins for us. I don't think it's going to translate to wins for the Jags or for the Patriots. So I think everyone can kind of calm down. Everything's built through the draft. Mutt Viles chimes in. Green Bean, I see in the chat. Here he comes. Green Bean's jumping in. So before I jump into Mutt Viles' comment, let's see if I could do a cool transition here.
Bean.
Let's see. Transition. Did it work?
Yeah.
Yeah!
Hey.
It worked! I get so
dudes.
excited when that works. Oh, good to have you on,
Wow,
Bean. Happy
look
St.
at that.
Patrick's
That was
Day.
a sick transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy St. Patty's Day. This is our green holiday, man. How we doing?
It's perfect. I should have
We're
had
doing
green
great.
on. Guys are in the chat saying like, "Oh, where the green?" I was like, "I've been moving and fixing stuff all day."
Yeah, Richie's got it. I have been
Richie's got me
forgetting to
covered.
do that. Every year since like 2nd grade, I have forgotten to wear green on St. Patty's Day, and I always go, damn it, why didn't I wear green today? I mean, every time. It's one of those, I wear green every day except St. Patty's Day, so I think that's what it is.
That's fair. That's fair. It's almost like opposite day then.
Yeah.
You got to
It's
get
like
a
I
green
don't-
mic. You got to get a green microphone. Green.
Yeah, maybe. I know. What is this red
Or just
thing?
paint it.
You know, yeah, I have some stickers and stuff I'm gonna put on there. Nude stickers.
Ooh.
But it's like
some
years ago when
pictures
I
of your
was
green
drinking, I
beans?
wouldn't drink. Yeah, exactly. Going to be still shots. But back when I was drinking, I wouldn't drink on St. Patty's Day or New Year's. I was designated driver for a couple of years on New Year's. Isn't that funny? And I was a raging alcoholic. It was like the one day a year I took off.
Well, it's
Who
good
knows
you took
why?
some days off at least, and now you're in good shape. Now you're
Yeah.
crushing it.
Yeah.
Mutt
Now
Viles
I'm
jumps in
doing
with a super
okay.
chat, says sup Ryan, just left the hospital visiting my girl, hope we can get Sherman, Fuller, or maybe a lineman. Mutt Viles, I really hope your girl is not hurt and in the hospital. I wish her the best. Hopefully she's like a nurse or something, and that's a little bit more nice. But yeah, dude, I hope we get a corner. We need a cornerback. Who else is in here? I saw another chat pop up. Is Craig here? Where is it? I saw Craig's pop up. There we go. Craig jumps in with another super chat, says, is Joe's strategy wait for all the teams to run out of money? It certainly feels like that from a Jets fan because you want all these different, like, big-time guys, and you just see each one go to different teams. We just saw Curtis Samuel go to the Washington football team. The contract is 3 years. What was it? 3 years, $34.5 million. So $11.5 million a year. I think it's a mistake not to have cut Crowder and signed Samuel. Now, I don't know if Samuel would have accepted that deal with us, but judging off Washington's quarterback situation, I can't imagine our quarterback situation is any worse than theirs is. So, Richie, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think about Curtis Samuel not coming into the Jets, signing for the deal he signed in Washington?
Yeah, man, I might be in a minority, honestly, but I just didn't think Joe Douglas was going to sign 2 wide receivers for $11 million per and put $25 million around into the wide receiving position, because I think that he wants to build this thing through the draft. I love the Corey Davis signing. I like that he actually did that, because it would have been a mistake if he did not get somebody like a Corey Davis and just strictly draft wide receivers. I like Jameson Crowder in the slot. I understand the perspective of cutting him, you free up $10 million, and that gives you enough money to afford Curtis Samuel. But I think what the Jets are going to do, and I can be completely wrong, it's just what I'm predicting of Joe Douglas's mindset when it comes to the receivers. I think he's going to go into the draft. We got Corey Davis, we got Denzel Mims, we have Jameson Crowder. Those are our 3 starting receivers. We got Denzel on the outside, Corey Davis on the outside, Jameson Crowder in the slot. I'm predicting that Joe Douglas will draft a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, whether that's going to be in the slot or the perimeter, and then we're going to draft another receiver late in the round. So we get 2 rookies to learn behind the guys that I just mentioned, and we also re-signed Jeff Smith and Vincent Smith, who will be probably like wide receiver 5 and 6 on the depth chart. But I feel like Douglas wants to get a lot of playmakers that he drafted, because how many times have we heard Joe Douglas say he wants to build this thing through the draft? And we got our first taste of the type of receiver that he's looking for in the draft. And Denzel Mims, he can do it all. I feel like every Jets fan's on top of Denzel Mims, and we think that his potential is through the roof. We're just very unfortunate that his rookie season had to be with Adam Gase, because we cannot see his full potential, and he was completely misused. But I did not think it was the end of the world if we missed out on Curtis Samuel. If we did not sign Corey Davis, say Corey Davis went somewhere else, and then Curtis Samuel went somewhere else, and right now we have no receiver signed, I would be freaking out. But since that we got Corey Davis for the contract we did, I just personally did not think Joe Douglas will go out there and sign 2 free agent receivers for that same similar contract.
Green Bean, what about you? You think Douglas is holding on to his money till everyone's all out?
Well, I like what Richie just said, though. And I'll comment on that. I thought it was also unlikely that we were going to get 2 wide receivers in this batch. I also thought it was unlikely that we were going to do like 2 of the premium guys like Thuney or, Galladay, all that sort of stuff. I think Douglas is going to cherry pick what he needs to give him flexibility in the draft. I think that's what his whole plan is. Like, he's not trying to do, like when I was coming on, I heard you say that ridiculous stat about the Jaguars spending, what was it, $1 billion? I never heard that before. So that's insane to me. So I don't think he's trying to do that. I don't think he's trying to build the team through free agency. He's trying to get guys in that give him flexibility to do what he wants to do in the draft. That's how I see it. And I agree that If he didn't sign Corey Davis, I might feel a certain way right now. But Joe Douglas has a type with, his receivers. All of the receivers that he brought in are 6'2" and above, big-bodied, strong hands catchers that get yak, aren't afraid to block. He has a type. So I'm okay with the fact that, like if we choose to stay right here. Now, I would have liked to see him attempt to upgrade and get younger at the slot with Curtis Samuel and kind of move in. Like if you can get it for the same price as Crowder, I was in favor of that move, but I also saw I thought it was unlikely. So I'm not upset. I'm like it's like a little like, oh man, that would have been cool. But I'm okay with going to, into the season with Crowder. Crowder's a damn good receiver. Now, again, it's not to say we can't upgrade, but he's good. And if you can't clearly upgrade or save a significant amount of cap space with that position, then it's not an urgent matter to me. We're fine. So that's not really freaking me out too much. It's just one of those things. I didn't even know he was signed, though. I just learned that right now. I've been running around.
Bam! Dropping news. It happened just before we went live. It was like real quick.
Yeah.
Jeffrey
I'm like reacting
Lance,
to it now. I didn't even know.
I love it. Jeffrey Lance jumps in with a super chat, says Deshaun allegations might turn off Joe Douglas. And then Jets by Jimmy says Deshaun is innocent until proven guilty. Don't crucify him before facts come out. That's basically what we heard the sentiment from the Texans say. They were, waiting on more information. There are now 4 allegations against Deshaun. It's not just the one that we saw yesterday. So I guess I'll throw it to you, Green Bean, first. What do you think Juju, I'm reading the chat. What do you think Deshaun Watson, what do you think happens with him? Do you think he gets traded? Do you think now he's gone. There he is. Okay, Green Bean, do you think he gets traded? Is Joe Douglas out on this? Is his value dropping? What's going on with Deshaun?
Well, I mean, I think the interesting thing there is there haven't been any charges pressed, but yet there was already a settlement request. So I don't know, man. It just seems like it might be a bunch of baloney. And I agree with Jets by Jimmy. It's like, let's not jump in and me too this guy before we see anything. All we have right now is that a lawyer posted something on Twitter and asked Watson for money. So I don't know. I think that they're definitely paying attention to it, but I don't think that this takes anything away just yet until something more concrete were to come out. Then that probably would affect, who's interested in him, especially Joe Douglas. But I don't think at this point it's too much of a concern.
Richie, what do you think about Deshaun and the allegations against him right now?
Yeah, I think reading Deshaun's statement, he seemed very confident. Like, I'm very excited to clear my name. And that kind of made me seem like, obviously, I have no idea what the whole perspective is. But on the outside looking in, it just looks like something is up. And the timing of this is a little sus. Apparently, this allegation happened back in December. Why was this not something that was brought up before he was going to leave Houston? So I think this is sus written all over it. Can I be wrong? Absolutely. But I just reading Deshaun Watson's statement and the way he put his words together just really made it seem like he's very confident that he will get through this with no charges against him. And it's just somebody trying to, make him look like he's in a bad light. When you have that big platform, it sucks sometimes because you have people like this trying to bring you down, and someone sees like that person's on his way up and he's going to leave my life because he wants out of Houston. I want to bring you down with me because that's unfair. So I just don't feel like I'm going to read too much into this, but I'm definitely going to be aware of this because it could take a left turn down a dark path where Watson does get charged for something. But my gut tells me it's just going to be something that we're not going to be talking about in the next couple of months.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping for, too. I hate these types of allegations, and it crushes me when it's a player that you really like, especially someone like Deshaun, who's given up countless hours, countless, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of money and time to help local charities and feed people and like all these different things. Like, he seems like a genuinely good guy. I do agree with you guys. I do think it's a little suspect that these are coming out now, especially, we just signed Tyrod Taylor. All right, green light. Let all the stuff hit the fan, and let's really drag this guy through the mud because he's not going to play for us. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because Deshaun Watson is actually recording this entire offseason and everything that's going on behind the scenes. So there's going to be some type of, I don't know if it's a documentary or a video series or something like that that's going to show exactly what's going on right now. And I hope he's in green and white. I still want him as a Jet. Maybe it just means we get him for a little bit cheaper. Who knows? Anthony Vittorito says, unnamed OC on Sam. He sucks, bro. Yeah, I know. We know. I don't know. I saw, I think it was Rich Samini was saying that the trade market for Sam is starting to dry up a little bit. I think if it starts getting to the point where we can't even get, say, a third-round pick, I would like to hold on to Sam, roll him into the preseason, at least use him as a relatively cheap backup with the upside of being able to trade him to a team that gets an injured quarterback, in preseason. Similarly to how Joe Douglas did this with the Philadelphia Eagles when they traded Sam Bradford to the Minnesota Vikings for Teddy Bridgewater when he tore his knee up. So, unnamed source for Sam. I don't know. How you feeling about this, Green Bean? What do you think about Sam being terrible or sucks, bro?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of data to support that statement. You can't get on somebody for saying Sam sucks. That all said, I think he's 24. There are a lot of teams that are going to think that they can fix him, and I think rightfully so. I don't think his market has dried up. If you think guys like Andy Dalton or Ryan Fitzpatrick are taking away a team, if they were interested in Sam Darnold as a long-term answer, they're more than likely still interested if they've signed one of these journeyman backup guys at this point. And don't forget, we talked numerous times about Sam's number one, or let's say best case scenario being a place where he could go and sit for a year. So him coming over and being some sort of savior for a team, that's probably ill-advised. I think signing a Fitzpatrick, trading for Sam Darnold, and letting him sit for at least half the season would be a good plan. So I don't know. I don't think Sam has shown too much as far as, saying that he's great. I think you can very easily say he sucks, and I think that he's damaged and has regressed. But there's a lot of time for that guy, and I think plenty of teams are still going to be interested. And like you said, Ryan, whether it's at the draft or in preseason or even during the season, there is plenty of time to trade this guy. And I don't think Joe Douglas, he doesn't strike me as anybody who's panicking to take the only offer on the table because the perceived market is trimming.
Richie, what are your thoughts on Sam by an unknown offensive coordinator saying he sucks, bro?
Yeah, like Green Bean said, you can't really deny that because there's so many stats that proves that he regressed beyond comprehension. I mean, if you look at his rookie numbers and then compare it to his second year numbers, he improved in every single stat. But then you go to his third year, it's insane. I mean, he threw more interceptions than pass touchdowns. He looked absolutely terrible at times where his decision-making was all over the place. And I still genuinely think that Sam Darnold's a product of awful coaching because if you just look at the trajectory he was on, if you put him in a right system and with continuity, I feel like he would have had a way better third season than with Adam Gase. But that's all hypothetical. You never know. I just think what Sam Darnold needs is a coaching staff that believes him. And I also think that he needs to go to a team with a veteran quarterback ahead of him where he can sit back, learn, because he's still 23 damn years old. Like, it's not like he's, 26 and, he just finished his third season in the NFL. He was the youngest quarterback to ever start week 1 in NFL history. And that was for the New York Jets. And I think that the best thing for Sam in particular, he should want out of New York because if the Jets keep him, and I'm okay if the Jets keep him. I'm not one of those Jets fans that thinks it's the end of the world if we keep him, but I'm also open to drafting Zach Wilson and Justin Fields as well. I think we'll get into that later on. But I just think for Sam Darnold, if I'm him, I want out because if he stays and I think Mark Sanchez said it, if he goes like the first 2 drives or 3 and outs, like Jets fans are going to be calling for his head because as they should. I mean, Jets fans, we're all passionate. We want to win. And if our quarterback's playing like shit, we want him out. So I think Sam needs to go somewhere where the coaching staff believes him and he can sit back and learn from a veteran. And I actually saw this crazy hypothetical on NFL Network. Someone said that they want Sam to go to Tampa Bay and learn behind Tom Brady. I was like, wow, I never heard of that one.
God, I really don't want to see that happen. I have heard some people say it just because it's like towards the end of the draft and it's pick 32. But with them going all in on Tom Brady, I would be genuinely shocked if they decided to spend, say, the number 32 pick, or even, say a late second round pick on someone like Sam when they're just trying to go all in. It's like, use the assets. That was one of the things that I think not only Rodgers, but basically any quarterback that is on a team where they wind up bringing in another quarterback through the draft, is like, you could use that asset on a wide receiver, you could use it on a tight end, could use it on a pass rusher, like something to actually help this team this year. So I don't know. I think the Bucks, I think they're a dark horse. I think I'll say that.
I don't think it's going to happen. I just thought it was very interesting when I saw that. I was like, wow, that's someone I never even thought of. But I definitely think Sam needs to go somewhere where he can sit back, because I just feel like he doesn't have the confidence in himself. And you saw late in the year, the press conferences when he was playing like crap, it just looked like he was defeated. It looked like he understood that he let the entire city of New York, or Jets fans rather, he let us down. And you can see it in him. He's like, wow, I really let down this fan base, and it broke him. I mean, like, whether you blame it on the coach, himself, or whatever, the playmakers around him, Sam just looks so defeated and deflated, and the confidence is not there. And no matter what you're doing in this world, no matter what job you have, whether you're playing a sport or you have a job or anything in life, if you don't have any confidence in yourself, you will not succeed in anything. And Sam Darnold lost his confidence at the end of the year.
100%, 100%. Richie hit it right on the head. Guys, if you are not subscribed to Richie, we're doing a giveaway tonight. All you have to do is go down into the description, click on the link to Richie's channel, go to his most recent video. You have to be subscribed to him, like the video, and then leave a comment saying that Talking Jets brought you there. And then one of you guys is going to be a lucky winner of a shirt at the end of this stream.
Appreciate that.
NY Bully. Of course. NY Bully comes in with a super chat, says, I think all the random Sam slander is from teams to try and lower his trade value so they can get him for lesser than a late first or a second. It's possible. I don't know. I think there are going to be teams, just like there are fans for New York, watching Sam be like, man, he sucks. Like, he's been the 32nd ranked quarterback like over the course of the last 3 years. Like, I understand why a team would not want to trade for Sam Darnold. Now, that said, I would love for this to be true, that teams are trying to slander him, so that way, maybe they think they can get him for cheaper. But I don't know. I think it's legit. Green Bean, what do you think about this? You think there's some slander trying to knock his value down?
Yeah, I know. Whether or not this one we're talking about is that, I don't know, but absolutely. I mean, this stuff goes on constantly. There are probably plenty of coaches and execs that think Sam Darnold is garbage, but there are going to be just as many that remember scouting this guy and wanting him and watching his whole college career, and then watching what Adam Gase did to him. Don't forget, Sam Darnold didn't only not have a quarterback coach with Gase, he also didn't have a quarterback coach his rookie year. So the guy's NFL situation was about as bad as it gets and he was the youngest quarterback in NFL history. So we, in our ultimate wisdom, 2 regimes thought the youngest quarterback in history didn't deserve a quarterback coach. And then Gase didn't even bring in an offensive coordinator. So there are going to be guys that look at the situation and think, I love this guy coming out, and if I had him, I would do X, Y, and Z with him. But don't forget, this period of time, there are so many stories being pushed by organizations to get people to think one thing or another, or even to gauge reaction. That's what goes on now, too. They put out a story to see how people would react to it and to know how it would be received if they were to make such a move. All that stuff is going on right now. So I don't think it's beyond, what's possible. I just don't know if this unnamed exec is fake or not, or if that's what he's doing.
Richie, what about you? You think this is a slander against Sam to try and lower his trade value?
Yeah, Green Bean hit it on the head again, but I think there's going to be split teams. A handful of people say Sam is not a good quarterback. I don't want him near my franchise. But there's going to be another handful of organizations that remembers the reason why he was looked at as the best quarterback coming out of that draft class. Now, if you look back on it, is that true? Absolutely not. Lamar Jackson, you guys don't need me to name the quarterbacks that are better than him, but he was looked at as the guy that was going number 1 to the Cleveland Browns. And then all of a sudden we wake up on draft day, and that's where we find out the Cleveland Browns might take Baker Mayfield. And I don't know if you guys remember that draft, but I was doing a lot of homework on all the quarterbacks. And I remember not even thinking about Sam Darnold being the next Jets quarterback because I was so sold on him going number 1 to the Browns. So I'm like, it would be cool if we had the first pick. We got Sam, but we have the 3rd pick, so we can't get Sam Darnold. And then when it happened, we got Sam. I was like, what? We got Sam Darnold? That's crazy. I thought he was going to go number 1. We just got the steal. So there's definitely teams that remember the guy that was coming out. And if you look at his tape at USC, you see the talent. But the one problem with Sam is he's a turnover machine in USC. And that's definitely connected to the NFL. So I do think that there's going to be split organizations down to do it. And then some players and teams that are saying, you know what? I think Sam was a failed product of an organization that set him up to fail, whether that's the players, coaching staff. I mean, Green Bean, when you were saying all those things, I want to punch myself because they didn't give the guy a quarterback coach as a rookie. How do you do that?
Never.
How do you not give the youngest quarterback ever to start week 1 in NFL history, not a designated coach, as a quarterback? And then we fired Todd Bowles after his rookie season. All right, the one goal for this new coach is to make Sam Darnold our franchise quarterback. And they go out and hire the man that every single Jets fan did not want. The moment we hired Adam Gase, 99.99% of Jets fans knew it was a mistake from day one. And he was brought here to do one thing: turn Sam Darnold into an elite quarterback. They hired Dowell Loggins as an offensive coordinator, who's basically Gase's puppet, and they don't even give him a QB coach. So there's going to be teams that know about that scenario and say, we're going to give him all the resources possible, all the coaching possible. We're going to make this kid into the franchise quarterback we believe him to be. And if you watch NFL Network and ESPN and all these national networks that cover the NFL, they're all split as well. Some analysis are like, no, the Jets should move on from Sam. They need to start fresh, get Zach Wilson, Justin Fields. Other people who are the same respected people, they're saying, no, the Jets should keep Sam, trade back, build around him because he's a failed product of Adam Gase. So, and that's the same thing with Jets fans. You know, everybody's divided right now. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. And it's just a crazy time right now, man. I don't even know where to begin on where I think this Jets team is going to be, especially with the quarterback position. But that's really my take on Sam Darnold. I don't really have anything else to say, man.
NY Bully drops in and says, should we trade? NY Bully, another chat coming in, says, should we trade pick 34s for J.C. Jackson? Let me pull up some info on J.C. Jackson right now. Give me just a sec. I'm going over to... Oh, no. Tell me Pro Football Focus isn't working? Mother trucker. All right. Go elsewhere. Patriots apply second round tender. Nah, fuck that. Screw the Patriots. I'm done with them. I don't want to give them anything. Boo. Sorry, not happening. I want nothing to do with that. Mutt Viles dropping in and says, thank you, Ryan. She's there because she's having an EKG for her head due to seizures, and she's a Jets fan like us. What you guys think about the Watson drama? Well, I really hope she gets better, Mutt Viles. And as far as what we think about the Watson drama, we're all on the same page. We want to wait and see where this goes. The timing of it is a little goofy, but of course you want to be sensitive to the female in this sort of realm, and you don't want to just brush it off because that's how things happen. And with 4 allegations against him, now it maybe has a little more potential validity to it. But we shall see. And actually, before I get into Anthony's comment, Jets by Jimmy makes a point, says, and the lawyer is a close friend to Cal McNair. Don't forget that part. Shady. Now, I don't know how close of a friend he is. I did hear that rumor because he said there was something along the lines of him calling Cal McNair his neighbor or friend or something like that. But I don't know if it was in like a legitimate context or if it was like me saying, I don't know, a neighbor is someone that lives in like the same town or something. I don't know. It's interesting. If he's friendly with Cal McNair, I'd say this whole situation could go kick rocks. Greeny, what do you think about the potential of Cal McNair, the owner of the Texans, being close with the lawyer?
Yeah, well, look, I read that too. I read that in more than one spot. Like I mean, there were articles that I dug up about when this lawyer was the guy putting billboards all over the Houston area to draft Johnny Manziel to keep Johnny football in Texas, and the articles then pointed out how close this lawyer was with McNair and how they live in the same neighborhood and their neighbors and their friends. So he was trying to kind of bust his chops and all that sort of stuff. So their friendship, the comments about their friendship predate this particular episode. So I think there's something there. I don't know, but I will tell you that if something came out that even to the slightest degree that Cal McNair was involved in this, that's a big problem, man. I don't know why though. I mean, I guess if Watson was found guilty or something like that, similar to what happened with Vic, I guess the contract would be void, so then they would be out of it. So that's some motivation. But I think for the time being, like that would take a long time to come out. And I think him trying to make Watson look bad now only hurts his trade value. So I don't really know. But then again, like we talked about last night, Ryan, I don't really look at the Texans organization as all that smart. The dad passed away, the real owner. His son took over, and since the minute he took over, it's been a shit show over there. So maybe he's a spoiled brat kid and he just wants to push things around in the wrong way. But I don't know. I find it difficult to believe when I remove my conspiracy helmet. I think it's just like, I don't know. I think we're digging too deep here.
Richie, what do you think about Cal McNair possibly being close to the lawyer accusing Watson of these allegations?
Yeah, man, that just kind of makes it more sus all over again.
Sus.
This is going to be something that's going to be talked about for a long time, especially that, Deshaun Watson is the headline of the NFL right now because he wants out. And for McNair to be close to the attorney that's doing these allegations, obviously the owner is not happy right now. Because they expected Deshaun Watson to be the quarterback for the next 15 years. And he had a very good statistical season last year, even though they lost a lot of games. I just feel like this is salty, and it just makes me feel more confident that this really isn't anything. And it's more shade and more someone trying to get money. And we've seen this over and over and over again. All these allegations coming out of nowhere. And it's from somebody you never heard of, and it's someone that just wants to get some. And if you look at the comments of that Instagram post, and the guy that was responding to other comments, and it was so childish, it didn't feel real, it didn't feel authentic. Like, I think Deshaun Watson will be good, man.
Jets by Jimmy jumps in and says, if Houston voids the Watson deal, they save $46.7 million over the next 3 years on the cap. They also save face on not trading him. Follow the money. I guess it would void. I mean, do they want to void the contract and not get anything for him? Because then he just becomes a free agent and then he could sign anywhere. I feel like that's maybe not as big of a motivator unless they could trade him and get out of the guaranteed money. That I don't know how that exactly works, but interesting stuff nonetheless. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Anthony jumps in and says, what do you think about drafting wide receiver Jonathan Adams Jr. in like the 5th round? I'll be honest, I have no idea who Jonathan Adams is right now. So I cannot comment on it one way or the other. But adding a receiver in a later round, yeah, I'm all about it because we have both Vincent Smith and Jeff Smith coming back on cheap deals. Whether they make the final roster or not is yet to be seen. Crowder's going to be up at the end of this year. I think Berrios is up at the end of this year. So we're going to need some receivers outside of Corey Davis and Denzel Mims. So, Richie, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think about the Jets drafting a late-round wide receiver, unless you know something about Jonathan Adams?
Yeah, never heard of Jonathan Adams. I knew I was going to save all my deep dive breakdown and research of all the later-round draft picks until after free agency, and that's when I'm going to probably come across Jonathan Adams. But like I said earlier, I think Joe Douglas should draft a receiver in the first 3 rounds, and then draft a receiver again in rounds 5 through 7. I think we need 2 rookie receivers. I think we need 1 long athletic guy that's similar to Denzel Mims, and then we need 1 short, speedy slot receiver that's also a returner. I think that will be the best bet because we need to replace Jameson Crowder after this year. He's not a long-term answer at slot unless Joe Douglas really likes him and he wants to re-sign him for a cheap deal next year. I think that we need to draft a slot receiver that can learn behind Jameson Crowder and get some reps in, and then draft another perimeter guy that can learn behind Denzel and Corey Davis, because we need depth. And this system that's coming in place with LaFleur from the Shanahan offense, they have so many receivers in and out, and it feels like they never really truly have a number one receiver like, an Allen Robinson type or a Kenny Galladay type or all these receivers on the market. Corey Davis fits the role so well because we need a yak type of receiver. We need a yards after catch. And I feel like Denzel Mims being a yak type of player but can do it all with Corey Davis is a perfect dynamic, and they need to get 2 rookies in this, especially that if we only sign Corey Davis in free agency, because I think that this Jets playmakers needs a lot of help, and I'm hoping, like I said, we draft one early in the draft and later in the draft.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts about drafting a wide receiver late, or do you know anything about Jonathan Adams?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about Jonathan Adams Jr. is that I don't know if a lot of people know that, but his father is Jonathan Adams Sr. Did you guys know that? Isn't that magic?
Wow.
See how that happens?
Blown up. Boom. Wild.
Yeah, so his father played football. I know, it's crazy. I know very little about him. I know he's one of the bigger receivers in the draft, which is nice, and that falls in line with Joe Douglas. But I didn't, very similar to Richie, I didn't break him down yet. So I could make a bunch of stuff up, but I do think, again, Joe Douglas likes his receivers big. So far, I do think that this is the year we're going to see a smaller, speedy, shifty guy come in. I think we have to. I mean, Shanahan offense likes to use that piece as well. And after Crowder, we don't really have it. So I think we'll see a little bit of both. But yeah, I could see Joe Douglas drafting a late round receiver, mid to late rounds for sure.
Big Green Nick, thank you so much for the super chat, says, if we keep Sam and trade down, we could have 3 first-round picks next year. Give Sam some help. Give him no excuses, then move on next year. I'm going to answer this for the panel because this is my most frustrating topic that always comes up. And I understand the love affair with wanting to trade down and getting multiple picks for next year. But remember, in 2017, we did that same exact thing. We didn't trade down, but we passed on a quarterback and took Jamal Adams because we saw Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, all those guys coming out in the 2018 draft. We're looking ahead. We're like, okay, you know what? Let's build the team around them. Let's pass on the quarterback. So we don't take Mahomes. We don't take Watson. And now we have to give up 3 second-round picks the next year to go up and get Sam Darnold at number 3. We have the number 2 pick right now. If you're telling me that we could have 3 first-round picks next year, it sounds really attractive. And I 100% agree that if Sam can be the guy, you will absolutely turn your team around super fast if you trade down and add more picks around him. But if you pass on the quarterback and Sam is not the guy, which statistically speaking, going from 32 to a top 10 that you need, doesn't seem like that's going to happen. You do not want to pass on a quarterback right now, because if you have Sam Darnold next year, I guarantee he plays better. One, because of the different coaching staff, new offensive system, better playmakers around him, healthier playmakers around him, easier schedule, the benefit of all the draft picks and everything like that. The Jets are going to wind up picking, we're going to be 7 and 10 if there's a 17-game season. We're going to be way out of position to get a quarterback next year. You have one sitting in your lap. Go and make the right pick, whether it's Fields, Lance, Wilson, whatever one you want. I think you have to take the quarterback. Then you have Douglas on a 5-year deal. You have Salah on a 5-year deal. And then you have new rookie quarterback on a 5-year deal. So, Richie, anything to add to my little rant there?
Yeah, man, that's the whole fun of this offseason, the very unique offseason for the New York Jets. And I think we are the most interesting story in the NFL. And I really don't think I'm saying that with any bias, because my uncle, diehard Giants fan, he's texting me all the time about the Jets. And I'm like, hey, you want to talk about the Giants? And he doesn't like the Jets usually. And he's like, the Jets are the most interesting story in the NFL. And every time I turn on the NFL Network and all these channels, they're talking about the Jets the most out of any other team. And that's because of the position we're in. And it's because what Ryan mentioned, we have so many options. We could trade down and get 3 first-round picks next year. We could draft a new rookie quarterback and build around him. We could trade for Deshaun Watson. The opportunities are endless. And this is a very unique situation And I think Jets fans should just sit back and relax and let it play out, because the more we debate on what's right or wrong, it's just going to drive us insane. We're all entitled to our own opinions, but at the end of the day, at least how I'm doing it, and some people say it's a cop out, I'm just trying to avoid any more stress because this offseason has been stressful. I trust in the decision of Joe Douglas. I think I can find positives, and I'm not just saying this because I'm forcing myself to do it. I genuinely think each scenario could work, whether that's trading the pick down with 3 first-round picks and you trusting in Sam, or whether that's drafting a quarterback at 2, refreshing the rookie contract deal in the quarterback and build around him, or go all in on Deshaun Watson. I honestly, genuinely think all 3 of those options are good. And that's why I'm very calm, because the way I look at it is it's not a disaster, either of the 3 options. But other Jets fans, like you guys listening, you guys obviously would be very upset of one of those 3 options. So that's what I'm trying to say. There's so many things going on with the Jets fans, and we're the most interesting story in the NFL. So let's just embrace it and let the guys upstairs with Joe Douglas go to work.
Green Bean, any thoughts on trading down with Sam?
Well, the one thing I'll say is that I think if you're going to do that, like trade down because you think you're going to get a quarterback next year, that's foolish. Now, if you're doing your quarterback evaluations and let's say you think you can win with Mac Jones, Wilson, Fields, or Trey Lance, you have them very close and you think, hey, man, we can create an offense out of any one of these guys. I love them, and they're all in the same tier for you. If that's the case, then you could consider trading back. Or, for example, what if LaFleur is like, dude, Sam Darnold is better than all these quarterbacks in this draft class. That's the guy I want to work with. So in those instances, I could see it. And again, like when you look at the Sam Darnold, the trade value, like Richie was just saying, the number 2 pick is the most valuable thing that the Jets have had in over 20 years. We have never been this high since then. So the fact that we have these options, which are all good, by the way, if you're going to trade back, you can get literally 3 firsts, seconds, if you trade back once, twice, whatever it is. And if you think Mac Jones is your guy or you think Sam Darnold is your guy, then you should absolutely do it. If you're thinking, hey, I'll just get a quarterback next year, then I think that's foolish because next year the story isn't written and you don't know where it's going to be. And that's silliness. But yeah, man, I think it's definitely going to be tempting and they should definitely be playing with that scenario. But I think ultimately, if we don't get Deshaun Watson, what we're going to see is a quarterback taking that too.
I forgot to shout these guys out. Roger and Edward becoming the newest members of the Jets Talk 24/7 family. Thank you so much for joining the channel. I didn't do a 10 o'clock mock yesterday because I was shot from all the streaming. So I'm going to do one next Tuesday. You guys will be a part of that. Make sure you drop some JETS in the chat so we know we got some new members on the team over here. And don't forget, guys, if you want to get entered to win a shirt at the end of this stream, all you have to do is go down into the description. There is a link to Richie's channel. You have to subscribe to Richie. You have to like his most recent video. I believe it's a live stream. And then you have to leave a comment on that video saying, Talking Jets sent you here. And then we'll go through it. We're going to pick someone at the end of the stream to win a shirt. All right. Now, Benjamin jumps in. Where is it? Benjamin jumps in and says, what teams would even trade for Sam right now? I would say the Bears, the Washington football team, and the 49ers right now are all sort of still in the works. Even the Texans, I guess, are all sort of in that realm. I don't think Tyrod Taylor, Andy Dalton, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I don't think any of those guys are really, preventing any type of trade happening. They're not long-term answers. Green Bean, you think there's any maybe dark horse teams that might trade for him?
It's funny that you used that word because there was that little rumor about the Denver Broncos being the dark horse. Like we were talking about on Monday night, Ryan, I think what I'm learning, or let's say it's being reaffirmed this tampering period over the last 3 days, is that the beat reporters and national reporters don't know anything when it comes to the Jets. They really don't. They make guesses. They have sources. They have not nailed one thing. Wait, did anybody hear about Jared Davis? Did anybody hear that Corey Davis was our number one or Carl Lawson? No, we didn't hear a word about these guys. So when they're talking about 8 teams calling for Sam Darnold, or that 3 teams offered second-round picks and we turned them down, or that it's drying up, I buy into nothing. They have not gotten a single thing right yet. So I think that there are just as many teams as there always were interested in Sam Darnold. I don't know what that number is, but I think that nothing has happened to make me think that anything is dried up. Like I said, Andy Dalton, Ryan Fitzpatrick, these are not the guys that are making you think that they're out of the quarterback market. Even Tyrod Taylor down in Houston, that doesn't make me think that they're out of the quarterback market, or that they're not going to be interested in Sam Darnold if they were. So I think there are plenty of teams. Like I said, I think Denver's legit. I think the Niners are still in it. I think the Bears, the Washington football team, and some others are definitely still there.
Chris Bucco jumps in with a super chat, says, rumors are Joe loves Wilson, but coaches like Sam. I'm scared we keep Sam. So, Richie, I ask you this. Are there any other teams that could be trading or interested in trading for Sam? And what do you think about the rumors that Joe likes Zach Wilson?
Yeah, it's definitely something to talk about because the teams around the NFL, where is Sam going to go if he does get moved? And it's true, it's shrinking. The Chicago Bears, they just signed Dalton, and the opportunities are closing in. And Denver Broncos is someone that's rumored to be interested in Sam. But now I see somewhere a report, no, that's false. I mean, there's so many reports, you don't know what to believe or not. But, man, if that's the case, that Joe loves Wilson and coaches like Sam, that should give you confidence that Wilson will be the move because Joe Douglas has the final say. So, Chris, if you really want Zach Wilson and that's what you're hearing and you're believing, you shouldn't be scared. Because if it was the other way around, if Joe likes Sam but coaches like Wilson, I think it would be that way because Joe Douglas has the final say, but at the same time, it's a collective answer. It's not Joe Douglas is in his house alone all day making these decisions. It's a collective decision they're going to make. But I really think it's going to be an interesting decision, and my gut does tell me that they're going to refresh the quarterback position and draft somebody at 2, being Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Lance, or anybody else.
All right, Peter Chestnut, your super chat was a little bit long, so I couldn't add your name on here. But Peter Chestnut drops in with the super chat, says, it's ridiculously obvious the Jets are keeping Darnold. There's no leaks, so people are guessing and guessing wrong. He's backed Sam, and how many picks do you think number 2 will get since Joe values picks? If we were to trade down, let's say, first off, the whole he's backing Sam. We also backed Jamal Adams. The Giants backed Odell Beckham Jr. Like, the GM will always back the current player on the team until that player's not on the team anymore, and then he'll just say complimentary things about him, and then they'll move on and forget about it. So I don't think him backing Sam really has anything to do with them wanting to keep him. I do think there are people in the organization that do want to keep him. But as far as what we could get for the number 2 overall pick, I think you'd have to look at what Cleveland got. I think Cleveland got, 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, a third-round pick, or something like that when they traded down when the Eagles went up for Wentz. I would like at least a first next year, and it depends how far you drop down. But let's say we go down to Carolina, another team that could, in theory, be in on Sam Darnold. If we trade down with Carolina, I would want their first-round pick, their second-round pick, their third-round pick this year, and I would want their first-round pick next year, maybe even their second-round pick next year. Like, we're dropping down that far. I want a nice little haul. Richie, I'll throw it to you. What do you want for the number 2 overall pick if the Jets were to trade down?
Yeah, I mean, that depends who's trading. Is it Carolina, hypothetically? That's going down to 8, so that's far down compared to 2. So you're moving down 6 slots. I would say they're second this year, they're first next year, and maybe even another second next year. I mean, listen, this pick is that valuable. It's potentially a franchise quarterback. Like you see Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson being thrown around in trade talks, and you see the type of packages they're asking for: 3 firsts, a third, and 2 starters for Russell Wilson. That's what the Chicago Bears offered. Now, that's not going to be anything close to the package because Russell Wilson is established as a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but that second overall pick could potentially turn into a franchise quarterback. So I think it has to be a first next year, a second this year, and then maybe another third next year and a third this year. I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm trying to think of really a realistic package. Definitely a first next year and a second this year. And I'll shoot that over to Green Bean. What else do you think should be added to that? Because I'm not good with these packages because I don't want to say a package that's completely unrealistic.
Yeah, then everybody jumps on you.
Yeah, right.
What's Richie talking about? He's nuts. Exactly. That's great. Well, what I would like to do is, like, if you look at, you got to look at the whole draft and what the teams that are up there want, right? So if Jacksonville takes Trevor Lawrence, you're sitting at 2 and you're getting phone calls. I would like to go down twice. So you go down to Atlanta, let them give you, number 4, a second and a third, a first and a third next year to jump up and beat the other teams that are talking to you about it. You jump back to 4. Miami's not taking a quarterback. So let's say they take Sewell. They want the best tackle in the draft, and they're not going to trade out because he's that valuable. Then you're sitting at 4, and Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones are all still sitting there. Now you're going to have the Detroit Lions and the Panthers and the Niners, whoever else, trying to get up. You can get you'll get there. Let's say it's pick 7. You'll get pick 7, a second and a third this year, plus a first and another pick next year. So that's literally, 2 additional firsts, 3 additional seconds, 2 additional thirds. And that's when it starts to make sense. So if you're putting Sam Darnold in the same tier as the guys that are up there, it makes boatloads of sense to trade back and get that kind of a package. That is a life-altering package. Like, look, when the Rams traded, the RG3 trade, the Skins traded up, I think it was from 6 to number 2. They gave 3 firsts and a second round pick just to get up there. It was clean. 3 firsts and a second, man. Now, that was on the extreme side, but that's the kind of stuff we're talking about when the prospect is there. Now, the prospects are there. This is a quarterback-rich class, and more than likely teams are going to fall in love with one of them. You either love Fields or you love Wilson. Like, it depends on your particular offense and all that. So if your guy's up there and you think that he's going to be taken by the time you get up there, and that's going to be the guy you want, dude, they'll give it, an extra first, an extra second, that sort of thing. So I think if you trade back twice, you can really do a good job. And I think that it's realistic to think that you can get that much right now.
Jumbo Bimbo, thank you for the super chat, says, if the Jets get Adoree', I'll buy some Manscaped gear. Well, if you do, don't forget to use promo code JetsTalk. You'll get 20% off and free shipping. So hopefully the Jets get Adoree'. Anthony jumps in and says, do you think this potential Watson scandal scares teams away from trading for him, including our Jets? So, Richie, I'll throw it to you first. Do you think this impacts Watson's trade value? Are teams going to be out on him right now, or do you think it's still probably the same teams, or how do you think they're looking at this right now?
Well, we lost Green Bean. Oh, we got him back.
He's popping in.
So the Deshaun Watson allegation, I think we got to give this a couple more weeks, but the question is it going to impact him right now? Because if Deshaun Watson is going to get traded, it has to be before the draft. Like, if the Houston Texans don't trade him before the draft, they're idiotic, because the only way that they get really a lot of value from Deshaun is if they can get a shit ton of capital for this upcoming draft. It'll be a mistake, because after this year's draft, then all the picks they're going to get is for next year, and you want that picks now. So is this Watson situation going to hinder that for the Texans? I think that teams are going to look into it. I think, say, hypothetically, the Jets and Joe Douglas, they're very interested in Deshaun, right? This is all hypothetical, and this is not reported. They're, especially Joe Douglas, he's going to read into this allegations a lot. I don't really think it'll hurt his trade value, because it's going to give the teams interested. Like, I heard a report that the Panthers are extremely interested and they want to pursue him by at all costs. I don't think something like this would honestly hold a team like the Panthers back from acquiring him, because this is not going to ruin his career, at least of what I've seen so far. So I wouldn't be too worried. I don't think this honestly hurts his trade platform or whatever you want to call it.
Greenbean, what about you? You think this affects?
I think the Jets just signed somebody.
Ooh, signing.
At least that's what the chat's saying. Unless they're doing fake news.
Let's take a look.
What'd they say?
I don't see anything on Jet Nation, so it's possible we're just getting
trolled. Come on,
trolled
chat.
right now, but it is possible it did just happen. They just
what is it that we're saying happened?
They're saying Vikings defensive tackle, or at least that's what DYL Pickle says. I don't know if that's true or
Dill
not.
Pickle.
Sign,
I don't know.
Dill Pickle.
I don't know if that's a trusted source.
Well, yeah, the NFL update. I think I see the NFL update just tweeted the Jets are signing former defensive, and then they deleted it right after.
Okay, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's happening. Maybe it's not happening. I don't know.
Anthony Barr.
Yeah, it's like mother.
Yeah, literally.
Frigger.
NFL update. They deleted the tweet right after they said the Jets signed this guy. Yeah, and now they deleted it. So forget it.
No longer there. Forget about it.
He's
fake
that
news.
was one of the best Jets ever, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, see, it's fantastic. He literally has an undefeated career. It's absolutely fantastic. Marty Thompson jumps in and says, Aussie Jet says, still must address glaring cornerback needs. With the cornerback market starting to dry up, is there anyone you guys sort of have in mind? I've kind of felt, even since before free agency started, that I thought this would be an area that the Jets would look more towards the draft. I think a J.C. Horn or a Asante Samuel Jr. with one of our first two picks might be a little bit more, realistic, I think. But I don't know. Greenbean, any cornerbacks you're particularly eyeing in free agency right now?
Yeah, I know it seems unlikely at this point. I know there was a rumor that he's talking to the Saints, but I'm really liking the idea of Richard Sherman coming for the player coach kind of a thing. I'd like to see a vet with our young stable. As you know, I have a lot of confidence in guys like Bryce Hall and even Lamar Jackson, if he can sit for another year and really work on what he needs to do. So I like the young guys we have, but I think we need a veteran. I do like the idea of Quan Williams, and I really liked Jason Verrett, but he's staying with the 49ers. So yeah, there's a few guys that I like. And I do agree that we should bring one in from the free agent class, so we have some flexibility. But I also think we're going to take a cornerback a little bit higher this year in the draft to go along with it.
Richie, any thoughts on the cornerback market or how you'd like to address it?
Yeah, I really want Richard Sherman. And like what Greenbean said, as the player coach role, are we signing Richard Sherman to be a lockdown number one cornerback and being that Pro Bowl way? No. We're bringing him in here to be a guy that can be – it's honestly more of a signing, like Greenbean said, a player coach. Not what I don't really care what he does on the field, because this Jets team this year, I'm sorry to break you guys the news. It's a little spoiler alert. We're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. So it's I know it's upsetting. I'm sorry. But I saw the future, and that's what I sensed. But Richard Sherman, what he can bring to the Jets is so much to the young guys, especially because he's coming from Robert Saleh. He knows the system. He's an intellect. He is one of the smartest players in all of football. And the leadership, the knowledge, he's been to the Super Bowl. He's won the Super Bowl. He knows what it takes to win. He would bring an identity to this Jets organization that we need desperately. And I think it's so underappreciated in all of sports how much a veteran presence means to a young team and young players. They look up to them. They look at their work habits. They see their routine. Okay, what makes them good? And they study. And as much as Jets fans all harp on Frank Gore last year, including myself, because we all love Frank Gore, but we just did not like him getting the ball 20 times a game. But it was definitely a positive for the running back room to see how Frank Gore went about his business. And LaMichael Piedron said that over and over again. So Richard Sherman, that's not a long-term answer, but at the same time, it could be a long-term answer in the perspective of he's going to help develop the young guys like Bless Austin, Lamar Jackson, Javelin Guidry, in these guys. I do think moving on from Sherman, they should get Adoree Jackson. I like him a lot, and they should definitely get another corner in the draft, whether that's Horn or someone else earlier in the draft, but they definitely need room. They need help. And I really want Richard Sherman. I don't know if he wants to come here because maybe he's late in his career. Like, I want to go to a win now team. I don't want to go to a team that just needs me to teach them. Like, I want to go play football and go for that Super Bowl. Or maybe he does want to go for Coach Saleh and he loves Robert Saleh and he wants to help bring Robert Saleh. He needs to teach these guys the system. People can, look at Sherman and ask him questions, and all these young guys can really absorb everything they have from Richard Sherman. So that's why I want Sherman.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I would like Sherman. I think it's possible we get him. The player coach role is pretty interesting. I think that I don't know if I see Sherman coming all the way out east. He played for Stanford, Seattle, 49ers. I think he likes the West Coast. I don't know. I mean, I guess he only chose Stanford and the 49ers. He chose 2/3 of the teams he's played on. So I don't know. Maybe he likes Robert Saleh enough and he'll come out this way. I would really be pumped for that type of signing. Anthony, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, do you think Cager could factor in on the offense somewhere? I think it's possible. Cager was what, an undrafted free agent last year, I'm pretty sure?
Yeah.
I don't think they're putting a crazy ton of stock into him. I think we're hoping to see him perform well in the preseason. Potentially, he could knock out someone like a Vincent Smith, a Jeff Smith, towards the bottom half of the roster, but I think it's a lock for basically Mims, Crowder, Corey Davis, and I would think Berrios are probably 4 of the guys, and then you're probably filling out 1, maybe 2 more positions. I don't know if Cager's going to be that guy. I could see him staying on the practice squad. Richie, what are your feelings on Cager?
Yeah, I like Lawrence Cager. I'm really happy he got an opportunity to show what he's worth. Unfortunately, he went down with an injury, and then we did not see Lawrence Cager after that. I don't think he's going to have a big role on this team because we just re-signed Jeff Smith. We also re-signed Vincent Smith. So I think those 2 guys are going to beat out Lawrence Cager in the battle for the last roster spot on the wide receiving group. I think Lawrence Cager does have potential. He's a big body guy that's more of a red zone target. He kind of has like a tight end build to me where he just goes up. You want to throw him up for a jump ball. Like he's not a speedy guy. He's not going to get any yards at the catch. He's a guy that you want to throw it up into the perimeter on the outside and make him go up and make a play. I don't really think the Jets are going to give him a lot of opportunities to show what he's worth. And I think he's going to go into training camp and try to fight his ass off. But unfortunately, the injury last year kind of ruined his opportunity to show what he's worth because it's not common that an undrafted rookie gets playing time. But last year, this receiving group got nuked with injuries. So that's how he was able to get out on the field.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Cager?
Well, unfortunately, he's never been able to stay healthy. He only has a handful of college games as well, and he's had numerous season-ending injuries. And it's unfortunate because he's just a crazy talented guy with size that and measurables that you don't see every day. I think he's 6'6". He's like a Plaxico Burress type of a guy, but he can't stay healthy. Now, the good news for him is this big thing that we just did with our health department, with our training and nutrition and rehab department. There's talk of it being groundbreaking and like the NFL has never seen. So maybe this new batch of doctors can figure out how to fix Lawrence Cager. I think if you could, he has the potential, like Richie said, to be that red zone target that nobody can cover, man. You just throw it up high and he's going to out-jump everybody out there. So that would be such a great aspect to have in the offense. Unfortunately, this is not something new for him. Him going down last year was expected. There's a reason why a 6'6" guy that can catch and block and everything else was an undrafted free agent. So unfortunately, I think it's unlikely, but nothing would make me happier than to hear Lawrence Cager's name called every week for a big jumping, leaping touchdown.
Nothing would make me happier. Guys, if you want to get in on our t-shirt giveaway tonight, all you have to do is go to Richie's channel. There is a link in the description down below. All you have to do is go to Richie's channel, subscribe to him, like his most recent video. It's a live stream from today. And also leave a comment saying the Talking Jets panel sent you here. and you'll be entered to win a shirt at the end of this stream. So make sure you hang around for that. Scott Wilson, thank you so much for the super chat, says, everyone is talking about the 49ers schemes with Shanahan offense, but with our current personnel. Ooh, look at that shirt. That is a nice, hot shirt, Richie. Everyone talking about the Shanahan offense. With our current personnel, we could be more.
There, that's nice.
I'm a big tie-dye fan. I like tie-dye. And the black tie-dye is hot. I had a black and green and white tie-dye. Well, I guess the shirt was white, but black and green tie-dye shirt when I was working for a summer camp. Oh God, now I'm dating myself. Now I'm like 8 years ago. It was awesome. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I actually have a buddy. I actually have a buddy that has a business. It's called Corrupted Closet. I actually work for him. He's like my best friend, and he does bleach tie-dye. So we collaborated, made some Jets Media merch. I actually just revived my shop today when I was live streaming. Everyone's like, yo, you got to make your Jets Media merch available. And I have a whole box of them that like I like took it off the market because nobody's buying them because the Jets were so bad. And I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. So if you guys are interested, jetsmedia.shop.
I love it. I love it. Scott's asking about the Shanahan offense. With our current personnel, we could be more of a 2016 Falcons looking offense. Yeah, basically anything that runs the Shanahan offense. That's why I think a lot of people are pegging us for Zach Wilson, because when you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, you look at Matt Ryan, and you look at Kirk Cousins, and the Shanahan offense where it's kind of followed, I would say Zach Wilson kind of fits the bill for that. Green Bean, what do you think about the Jets potentially looking like the 2016 Falcons? As long as they don't lose to the Pats.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, isn't that the year? Yeah, I mean, what would be wrong with that? That was a fun team, and I think that would be great. I don't know. You know, I mean, it's hard to predict. We don't even really know what a Mike LaFleur offense looks like yet. We have our ideas on what it's going to look like, but the truth is that we don't know. So I think that would be a great goal. You know, that's a nice place to shoot for, and that would be a lot of fun. So yeah, I have no problem with it. It's hard to say at this point. We don't even know who our quarterback is.
Exactly.
Richie, what do you think about the Jets possibly looking like the 2016 Falcons?
Hey, man, if we can get to the Super Bowl, I'm down. But to lose that way, I don't know. But yeah,
not down for that.
Yeah, not down at all. I see the correlation. You know, LaFleur was with that team, if I'm not mistaken. And so you never know what could happen. I don't really think that we can be that explosive from year one because, like Green Bean said, we don't even know who the hell is our quarterback yet. So ask me that question on May 1st because that's when we'll know for sure who's starting for the Jets at quarterback.
I love it. Joe S. jumps into the super chat. Are you guys sold on Zach Wilson being a franchise quarterback? Sold? No, I'm not sold on anyone because I have no idea what to think of for this past season. I really hope and I trust the scouting departments of the Jets and the depth they have there. And I'm looking at all the different guys that are out in the, the scouting world that are saying Zach Wilson could potentially be quarterback one. And I'm getting excited about it. So I hope that he's a franchise quarterback. Am I sold on it? I don't know. I still would say Watson is my number one goal because he is a proven commodity, and then it would go Wilson, Fields, and then probably Sam after that. Green Bean, are you sold on Wilson being a franchise quarterback?
No, I like him, but I'm not sold at all. And I also don't buy into the idea that he's rated higher than Trevor Lawrence and all this stuff. We see this stuff every single year. It's the same stuff every single year. Do I think he's bad? No. But I'm a big believer in that competition thing. And like people say, hey, you know, if you can either throw a dart or you can't throw a dart. You know, threading a needle is threading a needle. And I do believe that that's true, but it's much easier to thread a needle when you're not being chased by guys who are better than your offensive line. And he didn't see that very often. And that's the kind of thing that's scary when a guy who's used to playing a certain level of competition comes in the NFL. And I think, you know, because the NFL is obviously a higher level, and that's the kind of stuff when you see quarterbacks getting happy feet and all those negative traits. So I'm not saying he's going to do that, but I'm saying that's the concern for a guy like Wilson. I think he's good, but I'm not convinced or anything like that. I think there's a lot to be worried about with him.
Richie, what are you thinking about Wilson being a franchise quarterback?
Listen, man, after us drafting Sam Darnold and after seeing what happened, I'm not going to be sold on anybody being my franchise quarterback until I see 3 years. Because I'll be honest with you guys, and I think a lot of Jets fans can agree with this. When we drafted Sam, we've been waiting, and I'm a young Jets fan. So Green Bean, you've been around for the Jets, obviously, for longer. You've seen us without a quarterback. And I, as a young Jets fan, have not seen a franchise quarterback. And I felt like when we drafted Sam Darnold, I was like, yes, that's our guy. We got him. That's our franchise quarterback for 10 years. And I was just like pumping that in my brain because that's what I wanted. I knew it wasn't guaranteed. I knew Sam could become a disaster eventually because any player in the world can become bad. He doesn't turn out to what people expect. So I'm scarred. I have PTSD. So whoever we draft, I'm going to support. I'm going to root the hell out of him. But I'm not sold on anybody being a franchise quarterback, especially for the Jets, until they light it up or it's like blowing people away. And year 3, that's when I really make the decision because, again, I have PTSD from Sam Darnold. So that's how I'm going about it.
Fair enough. I remember that night. I was like, "Oh my God, we got Sam!" Because we went, me and my my buddy, we go to the Jets draft party. It's the Jets and Giants draft party at MetLife Stadium, and we're having a great time. And then Baker Mayfield gets selected. We knew that before going in. But we're like, "Oh man!" So now I'm thinking, okay, Giants are taking Sam Darnold. They take Saquon Barkley. The whole crowd goes bananas because the Giants took Barkley and they're happy, and then the Jet fans are going bananas because Darnold's fallen to the Jets. So it hurts me that I was so invested into Sam just to see the bottom fall out and be here just 3 years later. Today is the 3-year anniversary that the Jets traded up from 6 to 3 with the Indianapolis Colts, giving up 3 second-round picks for the right to select Sam Darnold. So a little salty there. Greg Tarr, thank you so much for the super chat, says, what's the best strategy to counter Belichick's new tight end tandem? It's linebackers that can cover and safeties that can cover. That would be my my thought process there. Yeah, Keanu Neal. Got to bring him in from the Falcons. Richie, I'll throw it to you. Best strategy to counter this tight end duo?
Keanu Neal maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of rumors. I saw that the Jets are actually linked to him. They're one of like 5 teams that are. I think a lot of teams will be interested. But like you said, you need linebackers and safeties that can cover. Apparently, Keanu Neal wants to play a linebacker as well. He doesn't want to be just looked at as a safety. And he plays a very similar position as Jamal Adams, that box safety role. He can cover better than Jamal, though. So maybe seeing that 2 tight end duo in New England is a scary bunch, and maybe we want to bring in Neal. But at the same time, I don't see Joe Douglas putting that much money in the safety position because we just franchise tagged Marcus May for $10 or $11 million. So Neal is probably going to get around that contract, maybe less. So, I trust Robert Saleh to have a game plan against them. He's very creative, and he's a coach that prepares. It's not Adam Gase anymore. Adam Gase's preparation was for the first drive of the game, and then that's it. He spent a week to prepare for the first drive, and that's it. Thank you, Adam Gase. But I just feel like it's hard to predict how they're going to defend this 2 tight end tandem because it's going to be scary, honestly. Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. I don't know, man.
Green Bean, what do you think? How we defending this duo?
Yeah, well, first of all, the Patriots have 4 tight ends, right? So they drafted 2 last year, one of which they traded up to get. That was the trade with us. When they gave us the 3 picks to come up, they drafted a tight end with that pick. So I think what Belichick is doing is he is very wisely counteracting the dime defenses that you're seeing all over the place with these small, speedy types of cornerbacks. And I think his whole plan is just to muscle through everybody, just run the NFL over. And I think it's kind of smart. I love 2 tight end sets. I love 3 tight end sets, 13 personnel, things like that. I love that kind of football. Just you can't stop us kind of football. And that's what I think is coming. The way that you would stop that is you have to have big body defensive backs and linebackers. You got to have linebackers that can cover, and your defensive backfield, if you're going to play a 4-2-5 with 3 safeties and or 3 cornerbacks out there, they had better be big enough to stay with the tight ends. The good news for us is all the cornerbacks we have, except for Javelin Guidry and Poole, are huge. I mean, we have 6'3" cornerbacks all over the place. So that's the kind of guy that I would like to see us continue to bring in. Even though you get these small guys with great verticals and all that, that's fine. But a lot of the time, they're not going to be able to keep up with the size. If they're throwing a 13 personnel out there on you, you're gonna have trouble with a small defensive backfield. So I think our 4-2-5 is built for that, which is nice. And I also think that our cornerbacks, at least what we have now, are also built for that. So we're pleasantly positioned. And I'd like to see more of that. But I agree with you. I think Salah's a very good defensive mind, and Albrecht is very aggressive, but not a Greg Williams type of aggressive. So I think we have the staff and we have the personnel, at least the beginning of it, to be matched up well. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. But I hate Belichick, but I like what he's doing right now. I think it's smart.
Big Green Nick, thank you so much for the super chat, says, if anyone is going to fix him, it's this staff. I apologize. This was so long ago that I'm not sure who we're fixing. I guess it's Sam. I guess that would be my guess. Yeah, if there's one staff to fix him, we always said that Sam would do better in the 49ers offense. So I think 49ers offense coming in, coaching staff coming in, that all sort of jives together there. NY Jets Tales, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, with all the movement and rumors of quality starting quarterbacks this year, why not next year? If we build up this year with draft picks and Sam, next year we may still be able to get a player like Watson. It's possible. It's definitely possible. The issue I have is that we're going to be much better this year than we were last year. The chances of the Jets getting a top 5 pick next year, I think, is relatively slim. Usually when you get a new coaching staff, everyone's fired up. They're playing a lot harder. There's guys on contract, going into last year, their contract. Douglas has been signing a lot of short-term deals over the course of the last, I guess, year or so. We're going to have an easier schedule. I just worry that we'd have to give up a bunch of picks to go up and get a quarterback, and that's if the team that's sitting at that draft slot doesn't need a quarterback and wants to trade with us. Because who knows? Cam Newton goes down, Patriots wind up with a top pick. They're not trading with us. There's a whole lot of hurdles with us possibly passing on a quarterback this year and hoping for a quarterback next year. That said, if you don't like Wilson or Fields enough to think they're a franchise quarterback, run it back with Sam. I'm fine with that. If that's the decision, I can live with that. You don't have to take a quarterback if you don't love one of them. But that said, if you like a quarterback, you got to pull the trigger on it. So that's definitely my thoughts on that. Joe, jumping in with a super chat, says, how about this trade with Carolina? Their 2021 first, their 2021 second, their 2022 first, and Christian McCaffrey. If Sam can't win with that, he can pound sand. Look, if we were to trade down, I love Christian McCaffrey. His contract's not terrible. I want to say it's like $9 million a year. Getting their first round pick this year and their first round pick next year and a second, if you were to trade down, I would be okay with that haul, I think. Because McCaffrey's under contract for another, I think, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. He just signed that deal, I think, last year. Richie, would you do this trade?
We get Christian McCaffrey?
We get Christian McCaffrey, and then it's a first rounder this year, a first rounder next year, and a second rounder this year.
Is that realistic? I mean,
I don't know. Apparently McCaffrey was going to be a trade option for Watson. So if they really love a quarterback at 2, maybe he's thrown in. Who knows?
Yeah, I would definitely consider this. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is arguably a top 2, top 3 running back in the NFL, and I feel like he would fit so well into the system in place. Man, I mean, so we're getting their first, which is the 8th overall pick. We're getting their second round, so we'll have 2 seconds this year, and we're going to get their first round next year and Christian McCaffrey.
Yes.
Sign me up. I mean, hypothetically, if that's the haul, sign me up. Yeah, I would do that.
Green Bean, what are you thinking about this trade? The 2 firsts, a second, and McCaffrey.
For our number 2?
Correct.
So 2 firsts and McCaffrey.
And a second this year.
And to slide down to 8. That's what we're talking about. Okay.
You got to
No,
think
it's
Christian
not enough.
McCaffrey's what's McCaffrey worth? Is he 2 firsts or is he a first and a
No.
third?
No,
don't
I
think
just
so?
look. I want to tell you, I love McCaffrey. I love him, but I wouldn't trade. Number one, he was injured all last year. You never know how they're going to come back. So there's that. I don't know, man. I just think it's very easy to find a running back that can be not just as, but more than serviceable. And you don't need to. I don't know. I think it's just not enough for me to give up to. It's worth more to me.
So let's pull McCaffrey out of that trade. What's the compensation that makes you pull the trigger? Is it an extra first?
To go all the way back to 8, I would need a first, a second, and a third this year, like 8, a second, and a third, a first, a second, and a third next year, kind of a thing. At least. That's far.
I could get down with that. Yeah, it's a far drop, and I could understand that rationale. I mean, I like Christian McCaffrey, but I don't know if we need to put that many assets into him per se. I think the draft picks might be more valuable for our team overall than what McCaffrey would bring to the team. That said, I would finally have a player that I could draft in fantasy that I would actually enjoy. When's the last time? I think I took Bell 2 years ago.
Le'Veon.
I was like, that's the first time, and I'm like, oh god, it just burns me every single year. I refuse to draft quarterbacks. I started taking the Jets defense, and now I'm like, I can't even do that. Then I was taking the Jets kickers, and I was like, oh.
That's the reason why I lose fantasy every year. So I'm obsessed with having Jets on my team and rooting for them. And they ruin me every single year.
It's funny, guys. I don't play fantasy, right? I just don't because I'm a gambling addict and all that shit. It's too close. But last year I talked a good friend of mine into taking Chris Herndon. I said I gave him all the reasons why he was a sleeper. He was going to break out. Obviously, he was upset with me. He's like, this guy is the worst. I'm like, yeah, he's the worst guy on his team. I know, I'm sorry. That's why I don't play. Because I'd be doing what Richie did. I'd be having all Jets. Like a fucking idiot.
Dude, Herndon was my guy. I picked up in my rookie draft. I was in a dynasty league, and I was like, all right, rookie draft, my third round pick. Herndon crushed it his rookie year. And then I had him the last 2 years. Got hurt, suspended, all that good stuff. And then last year he was just a no-show. So it crushed me, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
I'm drafting Corey Davis, though. 100%.
You got it, right? Corey Davis, Mims. You get excited on some stuff.
Luckily, I'm like a fantasy addict. So I have like 3 or 4 leagues every year. So it kind of spreads it out. So I can get a lot of Jets players across them all. I kind of like, all right, I'll get Davis in this one, Mims in that one. Sam with the last pick in the draft, he'll be my backup. Never worked, but...
I'm a big fan in the draft when I'm going like last round. I had a few years where I took Des Bryant as the last pick in the draft one year, and he wound up coming back right before the playoffs and signed with the Saints, and then he tore his Achilles. And I was like, there goes that. And then I had Rob Gronkowski after he retired, and I was like, you know what? This is probably a good player to hold on to. It was a good player to hold on to in my dynasty league. It wasn't the worst case scenario. So I'm a big fan of throwing a dart at someone late like that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Marty Thompson says, good day, Aussie Jet again. Good day, mate. Deshaun Watson will have to remain the impossible dream for the New York Jets. That's according to Michael Lombardi. Your thoughts? I could, if there's any substance to the accusations, I have no problem with, Douglas saying, okay, we're out on this. I get it. I understand. I still think it's going to wind up being a quarterback at number 2. I still want Watson, right now. But Richie, what do you think? You think it's an impossible dream that the Jets get Watson?
Yeah, as the weeks progress, I'm getting a little less optimistic about Watson coming to the Jets. The amount of times I hear Joe Douglas saying that he wants to build this thing through the draft, not going to be able to do that by trading your entire draft picks for Deshaun. Now, obviously, trading your draft picks for a guy like Deshaun Watson would be very smart for a lot of reasons, because it's very rare for a quarterback like Deshaun to be available in the trade market. But do I want Deshaun Watson on the Jets? Yes. Do I think the Jets will get Deshaun Watson? No. I just don't see it happening. I don't think Joe Douglas is going to be able to make the package. But then we hear like John McClain, the Texans beat reporter, he's saying like the Jets are the only team they really want to talk to because they have that second pick. And if Douglas really wants to get like antsy and say, hey, the only way you get the second pick, and we're not giving up that much. Like this second pick is worth a lot more. So we're giving you the second, and we'll give you our Seattle first next year, and maybe another late round pick and a player. And that's it. I think Douglas is not going to overpay for Watson. I just don't see it happening.
What do you think, Green Bean? The impossible dream?
Well, number one, let me just say that what Richie said, that's my stance from the beginning all the way through this thing. I've never been involved with the people four firsts and Quinnen Williams and all that stuff. If number two is involved, then there's only one more first involved and some sprinklage. You want John Franklin Myers, some stuff like that, a late, a fourth or whatever. That's fine. If there's 3 firsts, that second overall pick is not involved. Okay, that's how that goes. But I think what I'm feeling is that the longer this goes, the more likely it is for us to sign. Like, that's how I feel. I think this strengthens our position, and this is good. Again, the Jets are always quiet. There's a lot of noise around us, but none of it's been right. And like this guy Lombardi saying, the rumor is that Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play for the Jets. The rumor is. What rumor are you talking about? You just made this. Nobody else heard that rumor except for him. The rumor that we heard is the only guy who's in the know is McClain. And he said, just like Richie just mentioned, the only team that's viable really is the Jets. That's the only team with a legitimate offer that the Texans would be interested in. It's the only team. So I think at some point, Joe Douglas might say, hey, look, we're about to go in another direction. You got to shit or get off the pot. But I think right now he's proven he's a patient man, and he's not going to tell us he's not going to show us his hand. And I think we're still in a good shot. We're going to get him. It's going to be the number 2 pick, Seattle's first, a third, and John Franklin Myers or Ashton Davis or something like that. That's what we'll see.
Mic drop from Green Bean right there.
Right.
You just got scored on. All brakes, no gas is JD Idzik 2.0. No, absolutely not, because I believe in Joe Douglas. We didn't see anything out of Idzik's drafts. Richie, what do you think? You think we've got a Idzik 2.0 right now?
Nope. I mean, Douglas is taking the Ozzie Newsome approach. This is how they built it over there in Baltimore. That's how they did it. They did it through the draft. They didn't win free agency. And like Jets fans, we're so accustomed to getting the big ticket free agent. We're so used to, oh my God, we have all this money. Who's available? We have the most cap space for the New York market. We need to go get the best shiny item in free agency. And I'm just so thankful that we have a GM that has a long-term vision. And I've said this earlier on the stream. I'm not going to preach about it over again in depth, but you need to build, if you want this to be a short-term fix, it will set back this franchise 3 years. If you want to go the long-term route, it's going to require patience. Building through the draft is what Joe Douglas said he wants to do over and over and over again. The one problem about building through the draft is it takes time. Building through the draft is not going to win you a Super Bowl in 1 to 2 years. It's going to be a 3 to 5 year process. Now, of course, building through the draft can also open up way different avenues of all of a sudden a player wants out and we have enough capital to go trade for him. It's a win now move. Joe Douglas is maintaining cap flexibility for the future. He's maintaining draft capital for the future because he knows that this team has a lot of holes all over the place. And instead of Joe Douglas putting all of his money into 1 to 2 top tier free agents, he's sitting back being patient. He's going to let all the top tier guys go. And again, I mean, he spent good money. Carl Lawson, $15 million a year. That's not overspending, but that's not underspending. That's a solid contract. Corey Davis, 12.5 mil per year. That's a solid contract. It's a 3-year deal, but we get out of it in 2 years if we want. So it's not like Joe Douglas is not spending any money. It's not being super frugal, but he has a long-term vision and he's being really smart with his money because he knows that if I go all in free agency this year, we got to win next year. Because if we don't win next year, then we're going to be in cap hell, and then we have no resources to build this team. So Joe Douglas has a long-term vision, and you've got to be patient. I mean, I don't understand that Jets fans are already saying fire Joe Douglas. He's not the answer. Like, what kind of GM do you want? Like, for the people that say Joe Douglas is not the answer, I want to ask you guys, what do you want Joe Douglas to do? Sign all these free agents and do what we did back 3 years ago with Tremaine and CJ and Le'Veon and win the offseason free agency, that doesn't win. I'll bring it up again. The stat that I mentioned, the Jets have spent the most guaranteed money in the NFL since 2015. The Jets have had the worst record in the NFL since 2015. Money does not win. Building through the draft does, and that requires patience. We need to give time for these draft classes to develop. Joe Douglas only has one draft under his belt, which is last year. So we have to see what this draft class can look like in their sophomore season. And then he's going to draft a whole lot of players this year, and he's going to trade down a lot to acquire more capital. And we're going to have to let that draft class develop over time. So unfortunately, the Jets are in this scenario because of the previous GMs like Idzik and Maccagnan. I know Idzik had a very different approach than Maccagnan, but Maccagnan really set this team up for failure for the future. And Joe Douglas is trying to dig his way out of that mess. And the worst part about it is it's going to take time because that's where this Jets team is, putting so much guaranteed money into top-tier talent that were good in the past. Joe Douglas rather go in free agency, sign some players that have not hit their peak. Like Douglas is not going to go into free agency and say, wow, this player is one of the best in that position. I'm giving him all this money. Joe Douglas's mindset in free agency is this player has potential to become this good, and he has not been there yet. He's only 25, so I'm going to bring him in. So that's my little rant about Douglas. That's dropping the mic. That's all I got to say.
I saw some comments in the chat. Kyle Van Noy to the Patriots. I also saw the Rangers are currently winning 9-0 with 12 minutes left in the third period. That's banana land. Absolutely banana land. And I apologize for you guys that are commenting bananas and getting locked out by Nightbot. We had someone spamming earlier today, so I turned on Nightbot again. I'll click that off in a little bit. But you might get, if you spam the bananas, you might get timed out for a little bit. All right. Space Ghost 94 says, hey, you guys are the ish. Love the show. Green Bean, quit looking so damn smooth. Who do you guys think our next signing is going to be? Ooh, good question, Space Ghost, and great reference to an old Cartoon Network show right there. Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. All right, who do I think our next signing is going to be? I'll say Richard Sherman. I think we're going to go after a cornerback, and I think it's going to be someone from the 49ers, whether it's Sherman or one of the other guys. I don't know. Richie, what do you think our next signing is going to be?
I hope you're right with Sherman. I think it's going to be that position, whether it's Jackson or Sherman. Man, I don't know, man. I've been live on my channel for 3 hours waiting for something to happen, refreshing Twitter all day, and nothing is happening. I just want to see who we're going to get. I think that signing yesterday, Justin Hardy, was a very slept-on signing. I really like it because we need special teams. But I think low-key, the signing next will be someone that nobody expected, like a Justin Hardy.
Yeah, that was an interesting pickup because it's one of those things that, like, you haven't needed special teams. I mean, our punter was the guy tackling dudes. The Jets were one of, I think it was 9 teams that had over 10 yards per return on punt return, attempts. So for me, good signing. Guy brings it to the special teams that we need. Green Bean, who do you think the next signing is going to be?
I think the next signing is going to be Neal or Quan Williams. That's who I think. Yesterday, I felt pretty good about an offensive lineman or Gerald Everett. I had a feeling about Gerald Everett, but he's gone today too. But so I think it's going to be one of the defensive backs, and we're going to like it. That's what it. But I want to say too, I think the Hardy signing is also a very good signing. I read a whole thing on him today about how Michael Thomas credits him in practice with being somebody who made him a lot better and all that sort of stuff. I found that interesting. That's the guy who they put on Thomas, for the scout team. So anyway, that's like you said, low key, but these are the types of signings. And don't forget, Joe Douglas is not using free agency to build his team. And I want everybody here to listen to this. He's using free agency to give him flexibility in the draft so he doesn't have to be desperate in reach. That's what he's doing. And that's the smartest thing could do. How many off seasons have we won? How many Super Bowls have we won? I love this stat that Ryan and Richie are pulling out. Dude, we have always won the off seasons, and we always suck. We just got to get away from that mindset. Joe Douglas is the best GM we've had since probably since Dick Steinberg, honestly. And that's a long ass time ago.
And I'll say this: we said it earlier in the stream when Richie and I were on, and it's the Jaguars have spent 1.4 billion. That's a B, not an M, a B since 2011 in free agency, and they have lost 75% of their games. So winning free agency doesn't necessarily transition well. Hashtag Steezus with a little banana super chat. Thank you so much. Muttviles says, anyone else see that the Jets were a top 5 team for Trubisky? Not a fan of that. Also, do we make a trade for Ertz or Lattimore? Would love both, to be honest. I would love Lattimore. Ertz, I'm kind of lukewarm on. I'd be cool with signing him if he gets cut, but not so much in a trade. Richie, what do you think about Ertz and Lattimore?
I would love Lattimore, man. They're trying to get an extension done, right? But he's not a free agent. Mm-hmm. He's like going into his contract year.
Yep, last year of his contract.
Yeah, I mean, Lattimore is a guy that is a top-tier talent. I think he's borderline top 5 in his position, top 10 maybe. I would definitely be on the phone. Joe Douglas has no excuse to do that because that's a player that you can solidify in a premier position cornerback. I'd be all over Lattimore. Zach Ertz, I don't think that Douglas wants to get a 30-year-old guy playing the tight end role because that's kind of like a veteran that, way past his prime. I don't think he would do that much to the tight end group. He's injury prone. I would stay away from Zach Ertz, me personally, especially that he's not a free agent. Like, we'd have to trade for him. If he was a free agent, maybe bring him on board. But since he's not, I don't think Douglas would be involved.
Guys, if you want to get a shirt at the end of the stream, we're almost to the end. We got 7 minutes left. Head down into the description down below. There's a link to Richie's channel. All you have to do is be subscribed to his channel, like his most recent video, which was a live stream, and also drop a comment on that video saying that the Talkin' Jets panel sent you there, and we will pick a winner at the end of the show. Richie, if you could head over to your channel page to that video, just have it loaded up so when we are ready to do that giveaway, we have it in the background.
Sure.
Green Bean, real quick, Lattimore or Ertz, you in on either one of these guys?
Yeah, I'm really in on Lattimore. I would love to see something. But the Saints did a much better job clearing all the cap space. I mean, they're still in the red, but what they did, I can't believe how many players took, were able to talk into what's the word I'm looking for?
Renegotiate.
Reworking? Renegotiate. Thank you. I'm like, why the hell did that go? Renegotiating their contracts. So they did a really good job with that. So I don't think they're as, desperate as I thought that they might be, but I still think it's possible. But I think you'd have to give up maybe a little bit more than we want to for him. But man, is that guy good. And if we could get him and it makes sense, I would do it. But I wouldn't give a first for him or anything. And I think that probably is going to be in the area that they're looking for.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that mindset as well. I don't want to give up a first, but I would be glad to give up the 34th overall pick or something like that. Matt Bromley says, hopefully not spending a lot so far means they're looking for some trades. Hopefully that is the case because that doesn't count towards the comp pick formula, and it also allows us to use some of these later round picks to get guys that otherwise maybe we wouldn't have had a shot to get in free agency. I know Green Beans brought it up in the past. Austin Chavez coming in with a super chat says, Flyers on Trey Turner and Marquise Godwin. I would be on board with Trey Turner as a Flyer. I do think we're going to have to draft a guard. I think we need to bring in 2 guys. I know O'Leary's been saying it, 2 guys in free agency, or 2 guys this offseason to play guard, a starter, and then a guy to compete with Van Roten and Clark and all those guys. Green Bean, you in on Trey Turner or Marquise Goodwin?
Yeah, it would depend on the contract. Trey Turner, who was just the stud of studs for a few years, the last 2 years have been rocky for him. He's probably one of those guys that can come out of it and still have a good, a good few years. So I think it'd be really interesting and a positive to sign him, but I'd hate to see you sign him at like top tier money. You give him one of those prove it deals kind of a thing. I think that would be fantastic. Marquise Godwin isn't he like 31 years old or something like that?
He's got to be a little bit older now.
Yeah. It just doesn't seem like, I mean, Joe Douglas, look at the guys he brought in. I mean, they're all 25 and 26 years old. It seems like he's really focused on making the team younger. So I don't know, you know, it's me personally, I would consider it, but I don't think Joe Douglas is going to.
Richie, any thoughts on Trey Turner or Goodwin?
Yeah, man. Trey Turner should definitely be one of the guys on Joe Douglas's board. I think we need help on the interior offensive line desperately. That's one position that I don't want to say I'm worried about it, because I know Joe Douglas has a plan for this offensive line, because when he came here, he literally revamped it. He gutted it. We had 5 new starters on it. And if there's one position group on this entire team that Douglas is putting the most effort into fixing, it's the offensive line. And I feel like he has a plan that we just have not seen yet, whether that's trades, free agent signing, or draft. I think Trey Turner would definitely be a good option. He's 27 years old. He's a bona fide stud in that interior offensive line, and I would love to bring him in. Goodwin, I don't think the Jets would be involved. I think, like you said, Green being, they want to stay young. Corey Davis is a perfect example. He's coming off his rookie contract, and he's 25, 26 years old, and the potential he could still become better than what he's ever done. He still hasn't even got a 1,000-yard season. He was very close, 950 yards. And I think that's the type of the players that Douglas wants to bring in free agency, is more of the young guys that feel like they can hit their peak potential on the Jets, rather than get someone that's 30-plus years old, unless it's more of a veteran presence. And I don't really get that vibes from Marquise.
That is fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be in on the guard, not so much the receiver. Mutt Viles is upset with me because I don't follow him on Twitter, but Green Bean and Matt do. I don't know how many people I follow on Twitter. I think I tried to keep it like just Jets content, but I could be wrong. I was going back and forth with you on Twitter, Mutt Viles. So your shirt should be in the mail, I would think, shortly. Mr. Magix says, could it be that the NFL and owners do not want Watson to force his way out of Houston and set a precedent to turn the NFL into NBA 2.0? The owners should want the players in the NFL to sort of come off like the NBA. I know it's frustrating to have guys traded and moved all over the place, but the star power that drives the NBA is so incredible. So if you can have guys have that kind of power, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I do think there's a possibility that they may want to blackball him. Maybe certain owners. I don't think it's going to be everyone. Watson's too good of a quarterback for someone not to take a gamble on him. So I don't know if that's really part of this. Richie, what do you think about the NFL possibly turning into the NBA, and what's the good or bad side of that?
Someone actually said this. I had a lot of people join in my live stream the other day, and someone said a really good point where the NBA is, you kind of need to win free agency to win a championship. Mm-hmm. The NFL, you need to win in the draft. And that really opened my eyes. I'm like, wow, that's so true. Because the NBA, you need star power. It's obviously a lot less players on the team. And without 2 or 3 superstars nowadays, you're not winning a championship, at least. The NFL, they are not that way. You're not going to go out there and get a big splashy signing. You're not going to go out there and make one big trade and then win the Super Bowl. You need to have a full 53-man roster that is deep and that has really good coaching. I mean, there's so much more resources and so many more players in the NFL where it's hard to compare the NFL and the NBA, and I think they're very different. And so I don't really think Deshaun Watson forcing his way out of Houston is going to turn into a reoccurring thing. I think it's a unique situation because what O'Brien did in Houston is historically bad. And that's just an example of why your head coach and GM, the head coach should not be a GM as well. I know Bill Belichick is doing his thing, but it's just a recipe for failure. And you see, I know we're on the NBA, so I'm just going to bring it up one more time. Tom Thibodeau for the New York Knicks, he's our head coach, because I'm a Knicks fan. I have a Knicks channel, by the way. Any Knicks fans, check me out. But he was a GM and head coach over in Minnesota for the Timberwolves, and it didn't really work out because they gave him too much control. He was focusing on the personnel and the coach. Now he's the head coach for the Knicks, and the only thing he's worrying about is the players and the system and everything about it. So I just feel like that's a reason why it did not work in Houston. I don't think it's going to really hinder I don't think it's going to get connected. I don't think the NFL is going to turn the NBA 2.0.
V-Man coming in with a super chat says Jets fans are freaking out because we're New Yorkers, impatient AF. If we can't wait more than a few minutes for bagels and coffee, how can we wait for the Jets? Dude, I hate standing on line. I hate slow internet. I hate, waiting for anything. You know, you really feel it when you go to another part of the country. Like when I visit my family down in Florida, it feels like there's like a buffer, like a loading bar down there, and everything's just a lot slower. I mean, it's not a bad thing because everyone's super friendly down there, but like everyone wants to tell you their family story when you walk in, you're buying furniture or something for your house. Oh, let me tell you about my cousin and my brother. It's like, dude, I don't even know you. Let me get my shit and get out. So I understand the impatience there. But guys, we are towards the end of our stream now. So Richie, I'm going to have you go over to your video, hit the refresh button, and pick a winner. You could scroll through. I don't know how we're going to pick a winner. So you could just pick whoever you
I got to pick the winner?
Through. The pressure's on. I know.
I know. Man. All right, so...
Ooh, John in the chat says he's from... Are you from Sarasota? My family's from Sarasota, so or not from Sarasota. They moved to Sarasota. Siesta Key, #1 beach. Sorry, Richie. I got excited.
Oh, good. Should I just close my eyes? Like, I don't want to pick this. I want to pick this blindly.
All right, so let's do this. Let's do... all right, chat, give us a number 1 through 20. And then that will be the number that Richie has to scroll through. And he could skip every other name and go back up, go from the bottom, go from the top, something along those lines. All right, Angel says 15. 15's the number, Richie.
So I just count from top 15 down?
Whichever you want. You make the rules. We make the rules.
All right.
So it could be you could skip one. I do some random stuff every now and then, but it's got to be someone that came from the stream, so that way we can hook them up with a shirt.
All the comments are honestly from the stream. All right, guys, this is interesting. We got a lot of comments, So I'm going to honestly close my eyes and scroll through, count to 15 in my head, and then open my eyes, and whatever my mouse cursor is on will win.
I like it. I like it.
All right, here we go. I'm looking away. I'm scrolling up and down. Scrolling up and down. All right, how about instead of this 15 rule, I think it's been like 10 seconds. You tell me when to stop.
All right, 3, 2, 1, stop.
Vincent Jones.
Ooh, Vincent Jones. Make sure you hit me up on my either Instagram, Facebook, Flick Chat, whoever.
Vincent Jones, congratulations,
Vincent
man.
Jones. Congratulations, brother. Make sure you hit me up so I can get your contact info and I can send you out a shirt. But guys, we have reached the end of our stream, so I want to go around the panel one more time and do our closing comments. Plug whatever you want. Green Bean, I'll throw it to you first. Any last words for the panel?
Yeah, another fun night. Thanks for letting me be late, everybody. I do appreciate it because I would hate to miss this. I love being here with Richie, too. It's nice to have Richie on. You guys can follow me on YouTube, Green Bean Jets Fan. It would be so awesome if all 758 of you who were not subscribed went over there right now and subbed. That would be killer for me. Also, if you want to follow my national roller coaster tour, that's what I'm doing out here. You can go to Full-Time Coaster Tour on YouTube and see all my baloney over there. I was on a roller coaster and got hit with a cell phone the other day, so there's that. All kinds of fun shit. Yeah, cut my arm open.
Jeez.
Yeah,
I love it.
75 miles an hour. Go ahead.
Richie, thank you so much for coming on. Plug yourself. Let everyone know where to find you.
What's good, everybody? You guys know where to find me. For those guys that are New York Knicks fans, I have a YouTube channel about the Knicks called Knicks Media. If you just click on my YouTube channel, Jets Media, I have like a lot of YouTube channels. I have 6. So you can see all my links. I also have an NFL YouTube channel, Touchdown Kingdom, where we come out with a first-round mock draft every week. We have 3 editions so far. The first one, we have Justin Fields going to the Jets. The second one, we have Zach Wilson going to the Jets. The third one, we did a trade-down scenario with the Jets. So if you're interested, check out Touchdown Kingdom. And, yeah, check me out on Jets Media as well. Appreciate you having me on, Ryan. And look forward to this. I also go live on Jets Media a lot in the last couple of weeks during this whole free agency frenzy. I'll be live tomorrow during the day, most likely. So appreciate you having me on, Ryan. Green Bean, always a pleasure talking Jets with you guys.
I love it, Richie. Green Bean, thank you so much for flying with me tonight. Guys in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. My name's Ryan. I've been your pilot tonight. Jets.
Jets, Jets, Jets.